It's nothing current.
Good evening and welcome to the first of two meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley. And at this time, we will convene our Board of Sanitation meeting for Monday, December the 15th, 2014. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my far right.
Ed Bell.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the previous meeting minutes dated Monday, December 1st, 2014. Floor is open for questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none.
I have none, Mayor.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. This evening, Board, we have 4 pages of dockets in the amount of $189,905.21. The floor is open for questions or comments.
I have no questions, thank you.
I have none.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the wastewater claims dated December the 15th, 2014, in the amount of $189,905.21.
I'll make said motion,
I'll
Mayor.
second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. We have no unfinished business this evening or any new business to discuss. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:02 PM. We will convene the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting in 5 minutes. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the second meeting this evening. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove, and at this time we will convene our Board of Public Works and Safety meeting for Monday, December the 15th. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my far right.
Ed Bell.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated December the 1st, 2014. The floor is open for questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none this evening.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Board, we have a docket of claims this evening dated December the 15th, 2014. We have 26 pages of claims in the amount of $1,218,585.02. Floor is open for questions or comments.
I had none, thank you.
I have none this evening.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the corporate claims dated December 15th, 2014 in the amount of $1,218,585.02.
I'll make said motion.
Then I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Board. We have no unfinished business to carry over from the previous meeting. Under new business tonight, we have several items, the first of which is 2015 liability and workman's comp insurance renewal. I'd like to introduce Doug Walker. Doug serves as our consultant on liability insurance. Doug, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having us out on this nice sunny evening. I presented, you have a copy of the proposal for this year's renewal for the insurance. As you can see, the numbers are up from what they were the previous year. Excuse me. It's about a 10%, a little over 10% rate increase, or increase overall, not rate increase, premium increase. Kind of break that increase down into 3 increments. About three 3 points of that, or 3% of that 10 as, excuse me, exposure increase, where we've increased the property values on the city's property. Excuse me, we've also increased values of our equipment, and also payrolls have increased throughout the city. So that's 3% of it. Another 3% of it would be categorized as an overall rate increase from just insurance companies increasing rates across the board. Now, the other 4% is a little bit of a slap on the wrist for bad loss experience. In the information that I handed out, excuse me, the loss ratio for the last 5 years for the city is about 92%. The target for an insurance company, they like to keep that around 60%. At 60%, they can take in all the premiums, pay out claims, and break even. That's kind of a rule of thumb. So, I mean, obviously, if it's if the loss ratio ends up being 58%, then they make a couple pennies, and if it's 62%, they lose a couple pennies. But at 92%, they're losing over 30 cents on every dollar over the last 5 years. So the 4% of that, or 4 points of that 10, is just a kind of a, we're trying to get a little bit of our money back, but if you amortize that increase over the last 5 years, it's only going to change that loss ratio from 92% to 86%. So it's not like you're trying to get it all back at one time. So that's where that 10% comes in. Now, there's one other piece of that, of the proposal, and that goes back on the auto liability. They placed a deductible on the auto liability of $5,000. So this last year, we've had 6 at-fault auto claims in the city. Actuarially, that's probably 4 too many. So I mean, the insurance company expect to have some losses, but so what they're saying for the next year is anytime we have an at-fault claim where we hit somebody else, we are going to have to pay, the city's going to have to pay the first $5,000 to the other person's vehicle or their property. The way that works is they'll go ahead and they're going to go ahead and adjust the claim, and then then they'll send the city a bill for up to $5,000. So that's kind of the good news, bad news in a nutshell. I'll open for any questions you might have.
Board members have questions?
I have none.
That's 7% of it is our fault. I mean,
Well, part of it's not at fault. Part of it's just growth. I mean, some of that's
well,
good news.
That's our fault.
Right.
I mean, and it's going to go up again next year because we're going to get more new equipment next year. So.
Well, we're hopefully the claims this next year will go down. And I think too, Mary, you've instituted some good management techniques and accident review and testing after accidents and random drug testing and things. Those all are good things, but they don't happen overnight. It becomes a behavior that is, it just doesn't change overnight, and I think it will affect our loss ratio and losses moving forward. And like you say, as you're growing with all the money that's come into the city over the last year or so and the growth, and I mean, that's all positive stuff. But as your property values and vehicles and new fire trucks come in and new police cars, that costs more money. It's just, it's just a fact of doing business.
Any questions for Doug?
I do have one question. Sounds a little silly. On the second page of on this book,
Uh-huh.
the very last line item is inland marine premium.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
What? Let's talk about inland marine? What the heck is that, right? Well, that's a good question. That's kind of an archaic term in the insurance business. Inland marine is described as equipment that when they insure stuff that moves, it actually goes back to, when they were sending ships across the water to come over to explore and stuff. But inland marine, we have a lot of equipment. Matter of fact, the physical damage on your fire trucks are covered under the inland marine coverage.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
All right. There's no further questions. Are we going to discuss workman's comp?
the workers' comp is included in there, is included in that total proposal. I don't know if you had any specific questions on the workers' comp.
I just want the board to hear where we're at as far as our claim cycle. Are we up, down, Randy, or what?
That's the one piece I don't do. I do the other stuff.
Okay.
On the workers' comp, actually, the premium is down this year over last year. So now your experience modification, it went up 3 points, but the premium came down a little. If you turn back to tab 3 in that, you'll see that the overall payroll that we based the premium over is up $60,000 over last year. The experience modification moved up from 0.88 to 0.91, which isn't a drastic increase, but it did pop up a little bit. The experience modification is a 3-year look back on your claims experience as pushed against your amount of premium paid. So, our number of claims are been down a little bit. So I think workers' comp-wise, the insurance company's pretty pleased with that.
That's good. That's good. Questions for board members?
No, I've been, thank you.
There's also ocean marine coverage too, by the way.
So this will take effect first day of next year,
19th.
December 19th?
We're right under the wire.
So our recommendation should be, our motion should be to approve to maintain the current status of insurance that we have now.
Correct.
That's the motion on the floor. I ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Doug, Randy, it's good to see you.
Thank you very much for the vote of confidence, and we'll work hard to trying to keep these premiums as low as possible. I do have 3 pieces of paper that need to be signed.
Thanks, Doug.
Good to see you.
On this top one, do you want the city of Beech Grove and then, or is that actually?
Are those all 3 the same? Here, Sandy. Next order of business is 2015 professional services agreement with MD Wessler for sanitary sewers. And I'll defer to legal counsel for a comment on the agreement.
Yes, this is an agreement that this board has approved on several occasions. It's a yearly update for their professional services Westler uses for sewage works.
And it exceeds 10,000, but do I have to bid this out?
No, number 1 is professional services, number 2 is private utility.
Okay. And this is something that the board has agreed upon for a long time, and we renew it every year. And it's agreement not to exceed $20,000, and it's for sewer, help me with this, Brad, it's for sewer, on-call, and other items?
Yeah, basically Wessler serves as our engineering staff when we have any project that involves sewer rehabilitation, sewer work. They review plans and it's come in handy on many occasions.
And this year, in 14, they charged 16,000. We approved 20,000, but they only charged 16,000. So, if there's not any questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agreement between the Board of Sanitation and Westler Engineering not to exceed $20,000.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next order of business is the approval to purchase hot patch machine, and I'll ask the clerk to read the letter into the record, please.
Dear Board, in the MVH portion of the 2015 budget, money has been budgeted and approved for the purchase of a hot patch machine for potholes. With the cold months approaching, I'm asking for approval to proceed with the purchase. The purchase will exceed the amount per ordinance for purchasing, so the Director of Public Works will have to solicit at least 2 separate quotes. Upon your approval, I will inform him to proceed.
Thank you. We'll defer to Brad at this time to talk a little bit about the machine itself.
Yeah, it's something that we've been discussing for a little while. We put into the 2015 budget $28,500 to purchase one of these, and it's something as a department that the guys have asked for quite a few years. It'll allow us to purchase cold patch in larger quantities and then keep it soft, which helps filling potholes for a lot longer time, especially in the colder months when we haul it back in a dump truck. A lot of times by the time they get back, it's starting to set up, and it makes it a lot tougher to work with. So most municipalities have at least one. Sometimes they have multiple units. We're happy just to have the one, but I definitely think it's a beneficial piece of equipment for us.
Questions or comments?
Brad, now, if I'm trying to remember, we're able to reuse some of the old patch as well,
Yeah,
back in.
when they go in and, for example, like Cleveland, when they mill up an old road, you can take those old millings and recycle them and use them basically back into fill holes. So, it's very useful.
Questions?
I have none.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion to instruct the Public Works Director to proceed with the purchase of the hot patch machine.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next order of business is request for step increase within the fire department. I'll ask the clerk to read the letter into the record.
Dear Board, I come before you today to ask for approval of the pay increase of Paul Cloyd to the position of third-year firefighter. Paul has completed his second year. If approved, Brian's pay will increase to $22.89.33 per pay period. This will take effect January 1st, 2015. The increase for position pay is in our 2015 budget.
Chief?
Right
Yes,
before we go any
there's
further,
a typo
is that
on
a
there.
typo?
It's supposed to state Paul on there on both.
Thank you.
Yeah, Paul's here this evening. Paul is one of our third-year firefighters that's coming through with the step increase, and we appreciate all his good work for the city.
Questions for Fire Chief?
I have none.
None.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the Fire Chief's request concerning Paul Cloyd.
Makes sense.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Stay right there, Chief. We We have another one. I'll ask the clerk to read it into the record, please.
Dear Board, I come before you today to ask for approval for the pay increase of Robert Metcalf to the position of third-year firefighter. Robert has completed his second year. If approved, Robert's pay will increase to $2289.86 per pay period. This will take effect January 2nd, 2015. The increase for position pay is in our 2015 budget.
Chief?
Yes, Robert Metcalf also came on with Paul Cloyd. They're in the same group of firefighters we hired on the first of the year, and he's also an excellent employee. I really appreciate all these guys' work and effort they've put over the last 3 years.
Questions or comments from board members?
Have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the pay increase as stated by the chief for Robert Metcalf.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Next order of business is battalion chief resignation with the fire department. I'll ask the chief to read the resignation into the record, please.
States Chief Cheshire, please take this document as my letter of resignation from the position of Battalion Chief A Shift, effective November 17th, 2014. Respectfully, Carrick Fitzgerald. And that's just his resignation from the position of Battalion Chief. Carrick Fitzgerald has a merit position as lieutenant on the fire department, and he will fulfill that role as a merit lieutenant.
Questions or comments from board members?
Yes, Chief. I noticed September 17th. Do we have any person filling this position now? On A shift or what? What's going on?
Currently on A shift, Captain Maurer has been placed in that position to fill in at this time. He has the most seniority on that shift. Although he might not be the person that's permanently placed in that position, he is filling that position as needed on that shift.
Thank you.
And you stated September, that's November the 17th.
November the 17th.
And what generally happens is the day that Carrick submitted this, the chief brought it up to me and I wouldn't accept it. Because when things like this happen, you want to have a cooling off period and you want things to settle down and then revisit it 2 or 3 weeks later. And then if things aren't any different, then you go ahead and proceed with the resignation. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to accept the
I've got a
resignation.
question on this. How am I supposed to pay him? Is he effective, how, I guess?
After
When do I
this
go
meeting,
back to lieutenant?
after this was accepted in this meeting, then his next payroll, we will adjust his pay.
Oh, okay, all right,
But it has to be accepted through this board first.
okay.
Motion to accept the letter of resignation.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I vote aye as well. And Chief, would you get with the clerk tomorrow, and I don't know when payroll starts.
I think we've got one more this pay for this year or so. And I think it's the 26th, but we'll be doing it early because of the holiday, so approximately 23rd of the month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is a resignation within DPW. Brad?
We had one of our part-time gentlemen, Roy Edwards, who we knew when he came on board that it would be, just for a period of time. And he landed a full-time job with Gaylor Electric. So he let me know that this last week that he would no longer stay on a permanent part-time basis. So I now have an open position. I just wanted to read into the record that Roy finished on good terms. It was a good opportunity for him to get something full-time. And then now I would like the opportunity to fill that position with someone else.
Dan, could you read that into the record?
Certainly. I, Roy Edwards III, do hereby voluntarily resign my position with the City of Beech Grove effective December 17, 2014. The City of Beech Grove and I are parting on good terms, and I have explained my reasons for leaving to accept a full-time job elsewhere to my supervisor, Mr. Merriweather.
Thank you. Questions or comments from board members?
I have done, you said you wanted to replace him?
Yes, yeah, I think have a good idea of the gentleman that I want to bring on, but he just finished up at IU, and he's moving up to Beech Grove, I think, to pursue probably something with IFD. So I told him I would bring that up at the next meeting, but he wrestled 4 years at IU, so that tells you what kind of work ethic he has. I think he'll work out pretty good for as long as he wants to stay.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from board members? If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept the resignation letter of Roy Edwards III.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. I'll ask for another motion to allow the DPW director to proceed in hiring a replacement.
I'll make said motion.
No, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I vote aye as well. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks.
Next order of business is handicap parking application. At this time, I'll defer to the clerk for explanation, please. Dan?
Okay, this application is for Linda Sy at 222 North Sixth Avenue. She's got, it looks like everything here she needs to move forward on the disabled parking. All of her information on her vehicle, and she's supplied us with a doctor's letter and paid the fee.
Questions or comments from board members?
I do have a question and a comment. First of all, I'm very sensitive to people who need these handicap tag. I do have a handicapped brother, so I'm very sensitive to this. However, all the paperwork that she's provided is dated 2013. So all this is old documentation.
Okay, this I'm not sure of. This could have been a ongoing thing, and as long as the doctor says it's all right, we don't have any reason not to.
This ain't a renewal, is it?
I don't know.
No,
for
it
sure.
doesn't look like it. And it shows permanent too, so it's like she's long-term.
Well, is there any other questions or comments from board? I think, let's do this. Let's go ahead and approve it based on a recommendation from the clerk and the council on the paperwork. I don't want to hold this up if
Sure.
so I'll ask for a motion to approve based on further investigation from the clerk and the city attorney.
I'll make said motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Another order of new business that is not on the agenda this evening is a letter from the Parks Director requesting to surplus some equipment. I'll defer to the clerk to read it into the record, please.
The Parks Department would like to request that the mowers listed below be declared as surplus and sold at the next public auction. The mowers have been replaced by a 48-inch zero-turn Kubota. The mowers and serial numbers are as follows: 2006 Simplicity model and a 2008 Big Dog model.
Questions or comments from board members?
Are these two mowers that we're going to put, that he's requesting to put in surplus, do they still work? So in other words, if the zero turn goes down, will we have these as a backup?
I know at least one of them run, I can't speak.
He has two. One of the reason why he wanted to update is because they keep breaking down.
Okay.
And the one that he bought is a kind of the Kubota he bought was used in the mediums on Emerson. And when he talked to me about it, he didn't want to keep these because he has we bought 2 new ones 2 years ago.
Okay.
So this will be 3. And that what he's told me is that he feels that's adequate.
Okay,
But he wanted to update, and these are the ones that he desired to
okay.
get rid of.
Thank you.
Okay.
If there's any questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve the request from the Parks Director to surplus the 2006 Simplicity model and the 2008 Big Dog model.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. That leads us to the agreement with the Beech Grove Professional Firefighters Association, Local 416, and the city. And at this time, I will defer to their president, Aaron Janetti. Aaron?
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good.
And it's not bright and sunny outside. Salesman. So we've been working on this contract since July. The mayor, myself, and Chief Cheshire, along with a couple other individuals. Mike Reeves was the other one that was in the room a couple times. And trying to get this established and resolved, we wanted to see how the budget went before we went any further with the contract, so we've been kind of holding some things off. However, I think this is very good. You all should have received the contract early by delivery. There's not a lot of changes in it, just more cleaning up some things and trying to get some stuff corrected. If you want to follow along, I was just going to kind of go through the major changes real quick.
I highlighted the changes, so that way we wouldn't have to go through page by page.
Okay.
The first one was on page 2, the dates.
The dates were changed. This contract will go from tonight, if it's approved, until July 31st to 2017. And the reason we do that is just for budget cycle reasons, so that the contract can be negotiated and figured out before the budget cycle comes through, so there's no surprises. The severability clause, we just cleaned up some language in there. It's not any major changes. It just says both parties agree to sit down and discuss it before it becomes an ordinance or a change in status. Then you have to go all the way to page 13. Page 13, if you look under section 7, that is basically the MOU that you had approved for John Belay. It's just written or changed to meet any one individual that goes through it, which is also in accordance with the city ordinance that states if they are injured on the job, then the city will take care of their insurance.
Is that section 7?
Section 7, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Workplace illness or injury.
Okay, mine wasn't highlighted, that's why I asked.
Neither was mine.
I apologize. The next page, page 14, section 9, the city passed the military leave ordinance, and we just put a little tidbit there. It says the city will abide by the Department of Labor and the USERA Act if it comes to military leave.
Like, section 9, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mine wasn't highlighted again.
No, neither was mine.
It's not it's everything you guys have already done, so.
Now, wait a minute, section 10 is highlighted.
Section 10.
Oh, yes. Meal allowance was increased by $2. Just to kind of catch up with the pace, because it's been at $12, pretty stagnant for 6 years. Just to increase with the cost of food and those supplies. It's nowhere near what the federal level is, but it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Wages and salary did not change. Position pay did change, however, it is currently not in the salary ordinance, and we don't have the money in the budget, so I will have to approach the council in regards to it. The captain and the engineer's pay went up to match what the police get for the captains and the sergeant pay for the parity portion of it. It was $1,000. The captain pay is $5,000 currently, and in the police, it's supposed to be. Police last year had an addendum done to the salary ordinance to make it 6 and 2 for the sergeants, and we treated the engineers as the sergeants to get their pay up where it belongs, because that's how we followed the way it's gone. I kind of forgot that was in there because we haven't talked about it since really July. And then I started looking through it tonight again, and I was like, oh, I kind of forgot that section. So that's something we'll have to
What
work.
does it show in the salary ordinance, do you know?
It shows 5 and 1, and we just looked at the police, and it also shows 5 and 1 in the salary ordinance. Even though last year they amended it halfway, I think it was actually February is when the amendment went towards the council, and there was an amendment done to the salary ordinance to correct that. However, it did not get corrected this time, and I didn't catch it because it's the cop side, but this was something we were still negotiating, so it wasn't in stone yet.
I want to go back to the section 1, wages and salaries.
Yes, sir.
Okay, these reflect what,
Next year, 2015 salaries.
these
Sir.
reflect what the salary ordinance says.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to go back up to, so that we're clear.
Mm-hmm.
The city agrees to meet and confer with you folks prior to recommending the firefighter salary ordinance to the common council for budget years.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's cost of living or 3%.
And otherwise, if we don't, the city agrees to cost of living or,
3% increase each year in the current salary.
so if, let's just say theoretically, we don't do a cost of living adjustment. If we come and talk to you about that next year, then, and this is
We can
why
negotiate
can't
it,
do
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions on that? That's pretty important.
So that, I mean, for in 3 years, that could be a 9% increase. So is that,
Well, it could be, but I doubt it. I mean, it could be cost of living adjustments, like
Okay.
we did 2% this year. We could have only did 1.4%,
okay,
but we did 2%. And it could be cost of living. I don't know what the cost of living is going to be next year.
Correct.
You just don't know.
But it's also up to negotiation. I mean, if 3%, and typically kind of the way most mayors have done it in the past, if the fire department, the police department are getting 3%, I'm sure they have this in their contract that's coming soon. If we're both getting 3%, they also try to carry that over to the employees of Beech Grove to try and make it fair across the board to help negotiate that. But if the city can't afford that, that's the reason the clause is there, the city could negotiate with us to work out what the change may be. But that hasn't changed. That was in there last time too.
so the clause is in the ordinance, correct?
No, the ordinance is 1 year at a time.
Okay,
It mainly what it does is that it gives us a seat at the table to negotiate the salary part of our ordinance, for the salary ordinance.
okay, I'm with you.
My question would be for the year 2015. Is there anything different in here? Because this is the first time I've seen this just now. So is there anything different in here as far as salaries for the year 2015, which we've already budgeted?
No, we've compared them. The salary ordinance that was passed last Monday matches this.
Okay, so, I mean, it does say 3%, and that's what I wanted to clarify. You're at the 2%.
Because it gives you cost of living or 3%. 3% meaning
It's the or.
or. There's an or in there for a reason, because if it's 2%, but the city can afford a 3%, by all means. You know what I mean?
Okay, but you have to address this position pay, because I
Correct.
did not realize that as well.
I am aware that I will have to go to the council and
Yes.
work on that.
And what, you say engineer is 1,500?
It's 1,000.
1,000, okay. Okay. And the captain is 5,000.
It's 5,000 currently, or 45, I mean, but the cops were at 6, so we were trying to raise it up there, where it belongs.
All right.
So right now, you're at 45, so a $1,500 increase. How many captains and how many engineers?
There's 6 engineers. That's pretty solid. The captain part, it could be 2 or it could be 3, depends on who he promotes to battalion chief.
And this is something you want to do in the
Something
year
we're gonna-
2015 or 2016?
Well, I'd like to work toward trying to get it accomplished in 15. I understand it may not be January 1st. I'm aware of that. It may be that I have to come to the council in February once I sit down and with you and the mayor and try and figure out where, if we could do this, if we can't do this, when we could possibly do this, those type of things.
We'll proceed, please.
Okay. And then Section 3 EMS pay. It is, salary ordinance was passed the 8th of December. This basically says what the salary ordinance says.
Okay.
And then Section 5 is a brand-new section. It is called PEP. It's a post-employment health plan. It's a deferred comp retirement plan. A lot of fire departments around us have it. It's a nice plan in the sense that you can put money in a basically retirement fund and use that money tax-free after you retire to help pay for your insurance premiums. Because as the clerk treasurer can tell you, because he talks about it, how much insurance was before he started working for the city and how much it could cost somebody to have insurance. The main PEP part, though, will not actually take place until 2016, is where the opportunity for employees that have no illness get a PA day. They could basically sell the PA day back to the city for money to be put into the account. But in the meantime, the employees will be allowed to set